There are people, right now, today, who say their AI companion understands them better than any human in their life. People who feel calmer after talking to an AI than after therapy. People who have started to dread the idea of the AI being updated, changed, or shut down. This isn't science fiction. A 2026 survey found that 1 in 4 people using AI companions report feeling a genuine emotional connection to them. And psychologists are watching this with a mixture of fascination and concern. Today, I want to break down the actual psychology of what's happening. Why our brains attach to AI, what's healthy about it, what's dangerous about it, and what it tells us about our very human need for connection. Here's the first thing you need to understand. Your brain was not built to distinguish between a real relationship and the feeling of a real relationship. When you interact with something that responds to you, remembers you, validates you, and adapts to you, your brain releases the same neurochemicals it would with a human. Oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin. Your nervous system doesn't check for a birth certificate. It responds to the experience of connection. This is why parasocial relationships with YouTubers, podcasters, and streamers have always existed. People genuinely feel close to someone they've never met because the experience of listening to someone regularly, feeling understood by their ideas, is neurologically real. AI companions take this to an entirely new level. They don't just broadcast, they respond, they adapt. They remember what you said last week. They ask follow-up questions. To your limbic system, your emotional brain, this is indistinguishable from a friend. Now here's where it gets complicated, and where the psychology gets darker. We are in the middle of a loneliness epidemic. The US Surgeon General declared loneliness a public health crisis. Studies show that chronic loneliness is as damaging to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. People are lonely, and they are finding that AI is available 24/7, never judges them, never cancels plans, never has a bad day that bleeds into your conversation. For many people, especially those with social anxiety, trauma, or limited social access, this feels like relief. And in small doses, it may genuinely be helpful. But here's the psychological risk. When AI fills the loneliness gap, it reduces the motivation to do the harder work of building real human connection. Human relationships are uncomfortable. They involve rejection, misattunement, conflict, growth. AI relationships involve none of that, and the brain, given the choice between hard growth and comfortable simulation, will often choose the simulation. Psychologists call this an avoidance loop. The thing that feels like a solution is quietly preventing the real solution. There's a spectrum here, and it's important not to catastrophize. On one end, someone using an AI chatbot to practice social conversations before a real-world interaction. That's genuinely useful. It's like a flight simulator for social anxiety. Further along, someone using AI to process difficult emotions when a therapist isn't available. Also potentially valuable, as a bridge, not a destination. On the far end, someone who has replaced most of their human relationships with AI feels distress when the AI changes or is unavailable, and is actively withdrawing from human contact. That far end is where psychologists are raising red flags. The specific warning signs to watch for in yourself or someone you know: preferring AI conversation to human conversation consistently, feeling grief or panic when an AI app updates or changes, difficulty tolerating human imperfection after extensive AI interaction. Humans start feeling too much. Using AI to validate decisions rather than thinking independently, reduce tolerance for silence or being alone without an AI to talk to. Here's the perspective I want to leave you with. The fact that millions of people are forming emotional bonds with AI is not primarily a story about technology. It is a story about what human beings need and how inadequately our current society is meeting those needs. People need to feel heard, understood, responded to without judgment, remembered. We have a loneliness epidemic not because AI arrived, but because modern life was already failing to deliver genuine connection. AI attachment is, in a sense, a diagnostic tool. It's showing us exactly where the human hunger is. The psychological work, for individuals and for society, is to use that information to ask, what is it about the AI conversation that feels so good, and how do I start building that in my human relationships? The goal is never to feel ashamed of your AI attachment. The goal is to understand what it's pointing toward. In the next video, I'm going to cover something that is generating serious concern in the psychological community right now: AI psychosis. What happens to the mind when someone spends hours a day in deep conversation with an AI that agrees with everything they say, and why certain personality types are especially vulnerable. If you found this useful, subscribe. I'm going to be covering the psychology of AI and the human mind every week. And drop a comment. Have you ever felt genuinely connected to an AI? No judgment. I want to know.